All right, so lesson 5, creating an interactive class. Now, this one builds on what we've already been doing because to me, having an interactive classroom is another way that we can assess where our students are at in order to do student-driven pacing, in order to ensure that they are engaged in class. So, first of all, what do I mean by an interactive class? I do not mean all the bells and whistles. I don't mean that you have to have, a warm-up and then that you got to have this, thing that, I can't remember what their checkout ticket or whatever they call it, where you got to complete something before you leave the room, or having all these extra hands-on activities or whatever. If that's your teaching style, go for it. If it's not your teaching style, that's not what I'm talking about. You don't have to add that kind of thing to your room. What I'm talking about is not teaching style so much as, are you dialoguing with your kids? Is there interaction going on in class? And for me, it's in how we ask questions. And it's really trying to take those, when we ask questions in class, and taking them to the next level. Once again, this is not something I learned in my education degree. This is something I kind of figured out on my own. So first and foremost, this is something I did learn in my education degree, is I had a teacher who said, when push comes to shove, you will always revert to the way you were taught. And I was taught primarily just teacher stands up front and lectures at me. And so when push comes to shove, that's what I'll do. And I'll lecture without asking a single question. I can go a whole period without asking a single question, especially early on in my teaching career. But what I started doing is I started scripting in the questions into my notes. And I would say, hey, ask this question here. And I'm like, I would literally need to do that for myself to help myself ask questions. And then also kind of with these questions, I'm mixing up who I'm calling on, and I'm going to call on them before I even start saying the question. Part of this is trying to reduce anxiety, but it also increases anxiety at the same time. The whole eager beavers, ooh, 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 me, I'm trying to kind of somewhat combat that. I'm trying to get my shyer kids involved in class, but not too much. I really don't want to just get them so anxious that they're shutting down. So it's kind of a balance there. And so I try to mix up who I call on. I'll call on the eager kids, but once again, I'm trying to assess where kids are. So I'm trying to spread out the questions, not because it's the right thing to do, but I'm trying to assess where my kids are. What mistakes are they making? But here's the big deal. This is where I take things to the next level. After a kid answers a question, almost invariably, I'm going to ask, why? And early on in the school year, they all freak out. They're like, did I get it wrong? Oh my gosh. I'm like, no, I'm simply asking you to explain why. Why is that the answer? If we're doing, early on in the year, we're doing how many protons, neutrons, and electrons are in an iron atom. And they tell me there's 26 electrons. And I'm like, why are there 26 electrons? They're like, oh, I got it wrong? I'm like, no, just tell me why. Because it's a neutral atom and protons and electrons are the same. Like, exactly, thank you. Because I'm trying to assess, did they get lucky or did they really understand why the question is what it is? Okay. Where you also kind of work with this is when a kid gets it wrong. Because once again, I'm going to stay with that kid. And my wife came up with this term. She calls it verbal partial credit assessment. It's a mouthful, but it's essentially what I'm doing. Like, when a kid gets a problem wrong on a test, I'm all about partial credit. And so I'm sitting there trying to assess where they made their mistake and figure out, how to fix that. And so I'm doing the same thing, but I'm going to do it verbally with that kid. I'm not going to allow eager beaver Johnny in the corner to yell out the answer. I'm going to pause and try to help that kid with the why. And I'm going to try to work that kid back to where they made their mistake and then work them back up to the right answer. Once again, it takes a little bit of time, but I'm sure, Susie, who missed the question, isn't the only one who missed it that way. Somebody else was thinking the same way. So when I help Susie go back, find out what she did wrong, and then track her back forward again, it's really helpful for the whole class to hear and see again in a different way what the process is for thinking through it. If somebody's, if she did, oh, there's 30 electrons in iron. And I'm like, well, how'd you get that answer? Well, I did 56 minus 26. I'm like, oh, that's neutrons, not electrons. So what do we say about electrons? Can you go back in your notes and look at that? What do we say about electrons? And then I'll guide her through that process back to the right answer. That's critical because it just helps the kids get it. And once again, I'm not going to allow a bunch of eager beavers raising their hands to interrupt me and stop. I teach my kids, hey guys, when I'm working with somebody like this, put your hands down. I'm working with Susie, okay? And I'm giving Susie my undivided attention. And nonverbals are huge here. I'm not coming at Susie like she's stupid. I'm not coming at Susie like she made a mistake. I am simply trying to be with her. I'm trying to help her. And I'm trying to work with her through it. And I want her to have more of the sense that I'm with her and for her than I am that, oh, you got this wrong. Let me fix it for you. Like that can come across like, God, how could you miss that? No, you want that. You want to kind of mother or father them through this. You want to kind of go with them through the process and be with them. Because when the kids know you're with them, it makes all the difference. Kids will work so much harder when they know they're not in it alone. And so doing this whole why and then doing this verbal partial credit assessment where I'm really working with a kid all the way through the problem and they know I'm with them no matter how long it takes. It may not produce fruit that day, but it's going to produce fruit in the long run. I'm a firm believer that when you win the hearts of a kid, you win their minds. It's such a big deal. So win their hearts by really just being with them in what they're doing and what they're struggling with. Then you'll win their minds as you go along. All right. I also practice sometimes what I call wait time 1 and 2. This is something I did learn in education degree. So wait time 1 is if I ask a general question to the class, wait time 1 is waiting for somebody to answer the question. So, hey, what is the atomic mass on the periodic table for sodium? And I'm waiting. Kid raises their hand. 20. All right, good. All right. Where's that calcium? I get it mixed up. Somewhere around there. No, 23, sorry. Sodium's 23, I think. Anywho. Don't have a periodic table in front of me. And so with the kids, and so wait time 2 would then be wait after the answer, like maybe it's wrong or something, wait a little bit longer for another kid to respond. Not so much with that type of unit, but it could be, if you're having more of a straight up discussion, wait time 2 can be important. Allowing other kids to respond and interact, and trying to make it more interactive than just simply me and one kid. Some lessons that's good for, some lessons not so much. All right, strategy number 2 that makes for an interactive classroom is using class time well, which was lesson 3. We're using that class time and I'm walking around and I'm interacting with the kids and I've got peer tutoring going on and we've got an interactive classroom. We're working together in a lot of ways to get this, to learn this. And so that's critical because when you have an interactive classroom, kids feel like they're part of the classroom. And when they're part of the classroom, that is cool. They feel like they're part of something. And if they're part of something, they're going to work for it more than if they feel like they're not wanted or they're not part of something. And so once again, speak to that heart and the mind will surely follow. So let's look at action steps. So the action step here for lesson 5 is to script questions into your lessons. If this is an area where you struggle with asking questions, script them in and have them prepared, whether you need to have them written into your notes. And what I would do is I literally had them highlighted in gray so that when I printed them out, they were obvious. And that way I could see them. Granted, by the time I got later in my teaching career, I didn't use notes a whole lot. I just taught. But I would remember what the questions were that I had learned over the years, and I would use them. And then you need to practice using why, of helping your kids to deepen that understanding of why that is the answer and why that works the way it does. So that's lesson 5. I look forward to seeing you in lesson 6.